All right, all right, all right. I'd like to welcome you to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. So it's Black History Month, 2019. And there is so much to talk about. Being a native and a resident of Baltimore City, Baltimore, there are a lot of, being from Baltimore, I'm clear that there are a lot of other important cities across America. But I got to start with my hometown for this Black History Month, share a couple of nuggets, and then go on to some other thoughts, some broader thoughts. Here in Baltimore, Harriet Tubman came through here. A lot of people may not know, but one of the nicknames for Baltimore is Tubman City, named after Harriet Tubman, Araminta Ross, a woman who helped free over 1,000 slaves. Good stuff. She came through Baltimore, spent a lot of time here. So did Frederick Douglass. As a matter of fact, not far from where I am, I'm over here at Charles and St. Paul and 33rd. Well, towards the east side at least, over around the harbor, Fells Point. Frederick Douglass spent some time, particularly as a child, according to the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. It was in East Baltimore that he tricked one of his white playmates into teaching him numbers and letters. Remember, back during slavery, it was illegal for a slave to know how to read, and punishable even by death. Now, before I go on, let me just say it's a shame that in 2019 we even have to have a Black History Month. Started off as Black History Week. A lot of people may not know, thanks to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. It's a shame that in 2019 racism still exists. I think that's the horror. A friend of mine and I were discussing just why racism has to be in 2019. When you look at all of the accomplishments, the sacrifices, the obstacles, the things that African Americans have had to endure, why in 2019 must there still be racism? Somebody help me. Anyway, a couple other tidbits about Baltimore. One of my favorite people in history, besides Harriet Tubman, she is absolutely, besides the women in my own family, love me some Harriet Tubman. That took courage. This is a woman who had her freedom and went back to save others. How many of us would do that today? I think not many. I got mine, you got yours to get. You know how people get. But Tom Smith, he was a Baltimorean, and back in the early 1900s, he was the largest Black hotelier in the country, straight out of Baltimore. And if I'm not mistaken, his hotel was downtown, just on the west side of Charles Street. He was a noted funder and contributor to the Maryland Democratic Party. Well-known Tom Smith, probably the only Black to live in Northwest Baltimore. We call it Park Heights. If you know anything about Baltimore, segregation and housing segregation laws, Baltimore was the capital of segregation from a housing perspective. Redlining, putting Black people in this part of town, not over in that part of town. Baltimore is home to it. Matter of fact, some of our housing segregation laws were replicated across the country. So Baltimore has a history steeped in racism. Let me tell you something else. Baltimore had the largest population of free Blacks prior to the Civil War. Isn't that huge? And I think that's why the attack, yes, I said attack, on the black community, overt and covert, has been so consistent over the centuries. A strong black, a strong African, African American, Negro, colored man, whatever you want to call us, emerged in this city. Despite the challenges, a very strong, and I'm convinced that's why the attacks on the black community in this city in 2019 are so relentless. We have a heap of black elected officials, but you would never know it. I don't want to get into politics. I want to keep talking about some history. We save politics for a later time. Some other people in black history. If you like Harriet Tubman, then, and this is a white guy, John Brown, Captain John Brown, Harper's Ferry, Virginia. This man led a raid. He was anti-slavery. A white man named John Brown laid down his life fighting against slavery. John Brown, he will always be one of my heroes. I think that took a lot of heart, courage, sinew. Yeah, John Brown. He was a bad